Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar. Our expert panel is going to tell you, are you an Internet Ninja Warrior or a 90-pound weakling? My name is Eliana Raggio, and I'll be your moderator today. And today's webinar is being presented by DEALERUN. And for anyone who isn't familiar with DEALERUN, well, we're an award-winning website development company and digital agency, best known for our search engine optimization, best-in-class customer service, and our award-winning websites. DEALERUN was named the top-rated website provider by Driving Sales in 2012 and 2013, and DEALERUN customers were winners of the Spring and Fall 2012 Digital Dealer Website Excellence Awards, including the highly coveted overall winner. And recently at NADA, DEALERUN also received the Best in Show Award for website design from Dealer Marketing Magazine. DEALERUN is so committed to lead conversion, optimization, and customer service that we're the only company in the industry to offer a money-back lead guarantee program. So, does your website company guarantee you leads? Well, then maybe you should check us out at DEALERUN.com. And we have a great show in store for you today. We're very pleased to have Jerry Thibeau as our presenter today. Jerry Thibeau is the president and founder of Phone Ninjas, a company focused on helping dealerships improve phone skills. Jerry's success with clients has made Phone Ninjas one of the hottest and fastest growing companies in the automotive sector. Phone Ninjas was a recent winner of the PCG Spotlight Awards for one of the top 5 products at the NADA 2012. Jerry is a 27-year automotive veteran and has earned the nickname the Phone Ninja for his ability to turn even the hardest of phone shoppers into real appointments that show. Having personally listened to and provided coaching feedback on more than 10,000 sales calls, Thibeau is the industry's best and brightest when it comes to evaluating a phone conversation. Jerry has written countless articles for the industry, is an active blogger on all the automotive social media sites, and he can be reached at jerry@phoneninjas.com. Now, during the presentation, if you have any questions, please use the question feature. It's located on the corner of your screen, and from there you can submit them. At the end of the presentation, we're going to answer those questions of general interest. If we're unable to get to your question live, we'll respond by email later today. Also, don't forget, a link to download a copy of the webinar recording is going to be emailed to you later today for your reference, and please feel free to share it with friends and colleagues. And DEALERUN is going to be at the upcoming Digital Dealer Convention in Orlando. So if you're going to be there, well then we want to see you. Come visit us at booth 407. Digital Dealer Conference and Expo is always a great conference, and it's going to be May 7th, 8th, and 9th at the Rose and Shingle Creek in Orlando, and I'm going to be there, and I want to see you. Also, I want to tell you, I want you to check out the speaking sessions from some of the members of the DEALERUN executive team, and we are going to be broadcasting live from the Digital Dealer Convention in Orlando on Thursday, May 9th, right from the convention floor with none other than Grant Cardone. More details are going to be coming at you soon, so if you can't make it out to Orlando, well then I hope to see you all on our webinar on May 9th. And not to be outdone, Jerry Thibeau is also going to be at the Digital Dealer Conference and Expo. He's going to be speaking about CRM ninja skills. So, give your dealership everything it needs to succeed. If you're going to be at the DDC, then you just can't miss Jerry's awesome presentation. We hope to see you there. He's also got a booth there, which I have no idea what his booth number is. Maybe Jerry will tell us.
Neither do I. It's on the back wall.
I'll tell you what, when you get there, I'm sure you'll find the Phone Ninjas booth. And guess what? Our good friends at Phone Ninjas are giving away to one very skilled internet rep today $1,000 of Jerry's cold hard cash. So you definitely want to stick around and find out who wins that. Also, at the conclusion of the webinar, you're going to receive a short survey. Please fill it out because we're always looking for great feedback from our audience, and we're going to randomly select a couple of people from all the completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. So let's get started. Let's find out if you're an Internet Ninja Warrior or just a 90-pound weakling. Jerry Thibeau, my favorite guy. How are you? How are you, Jerry?
I'm doing good, Eliana, and thank you for having me today. I am really excited about today's presentation.
I'm really excited. I'm really excited. You have gathered.
Wait.
You've gathered
Absolutely.
Some amazing, amazing people today. And I dare say, for all of you out there today in webinar land, we are making history today. We have never had this much amazing talent on one webinar. I don't think anyone ever has. So we're very, very excited about this. Jerry, tell everyone what we're going to be doing today.
All right, so we are going to be reviewing 8 internet leads, and the whole purpose of this is to help you all learn how to be more effective in communicating with customers, from writing emails to videos to phone calls. We're going to teach you how to convert that internet customer to a phone up. We're going to teach you how to make more appointments, and you're going to see some really great stuff today. We had some great submissions, and each of us is going to be reviewing one. And I'm very excited about the people that we have here today. Ralph Paglia is probably one of the smartest guys in the automotive industry that you'll ever meet. He's the founder of Automotive Digital Marketing. He's got AutoCon coming up in September. You're going to want to hear more about that at some point. And, of course, we got Grant. He's a legend in the industry. What can we say about Grant that you don't already know? Author, very successful businessman. He's going to bring a lot to the game today. We originally were going to have Joe Webb on here, but unfortunately Joe and Bill just got back from their honeymoon in Colorado, and Joe's busy with the kids today, so Bill has offered to step in and take his place. Thank you, Bill. Now, we also were going to have Jared Hamilton on here, but Jared had something come up last minute, so I'm actually glad to have Eric on the call today. Eric is a genius when it comes to automotive, and he's got some great information to give us. Jeff Kirshner, yeah, I'm not sure what Jeff's doing in this picture, whether he's singing karaoke or...
Yeah, where did that even get there?
Somewhere
on
your Facebook page, my friend.
No. I'm not even your friend.
Is the founder of Dealer Refresh, a great automotive blog site. He's also the VP of Sales at Hook Logic, and of course myself. So let's go ahead and get this party started. Here are the finalists that are going to be participating. We've got Jeff Weiler Chevrolet up in Ohio, Chuck Hatton Toyota, Massey Hyundai, Parks Chrysler, Fremont Motors, Arnie Bauer, Sunset Honda, and Bill Jacobs.
And I just want to say, Jerry, before we get started, you narrowed this down. We had a lot of people that entered. Not everyone could be in this competition, but you picked the 8 finalists, correct?
I did. I went through, and there were, I want to say there were about 14 people that submitted leads. And I was quite surprised that more people didn't do it, but maybe they didn't want their stuff out there on the internet. But yes, out of the 14, I went through and I looked at, okay, you know, what did they say in their emails? Did they include a video? What was their phone call all about? And how often did they follow up with me? And so I picked the 8 best of the bunch, and here they are. And you're going to see some great stuff today.
Great stuff. Great stuff. The competition is stiff. So
it is.
Before we get started, let's just go back to that last slide. And here's the groundwork. So we have 8. We're going to narrow it down to 4, get it down to 2, and then have our Super Bowl, and then the winner is crowned. And our expert panelists are going to be voting all the way, correct?
Correct. And you'll hear that vote live, so you'll know who voted for you.
Yes, and I want to tell everyone else, too. Yes, we are going to have a question and answer session at the end of this presentation. We do expect this presentation to go longer than an hour. We're going to try and keep it to less than an hour and a half, but it is going to go over an hour. So if you need to know that information, I'm telling you up front right now. Also, I want to let you know, I know we have so much talent, as Tim Jennings, who's on this call right now, he says the internet just can't handle this much talent, so thank you for that, Tim. We have so much talent on here, and if you have a specific question for a specific person, expert on this webinar, please tell me who that question is for. We are going to only let 1 question per expert on today's webinar, because we already know it's going to run long. So if you have a great question for 1 person on this webinar, write it in to me, and we'll get to those at the end of the presentation. Jerry, what else do we have to know?
Any questions that they have that we aren't able to answer on the webinar, you collect them, you'll send them to us, and we will gladly get back to the people by email.
That's awesome, too. You got that, everyone? So let me know what we have else to go over today. We have so much going on today.
All right, so let's get this party started. Here are our expert reviewers and who they're going to be reviewing. And let's go right to round 1. Now, this isn't trainer versus trainer. This is dealership versus dealership, and each individual is going to be presenting what they like, what they don't like, where they think improvement can happen, so they're going to give their feedback. I'm going to jump out of the PowerPoint now, and Jeff Kirshner is going to go first. We're going to pull up Jeff Weiler Chevy. And Jeff, you ready to go?
Yeah, whose idea was it to make me first and set the tone for this?
Well, since you're going to be reviewing 2 dealerships, and by the way, folks, just so you know, I picked out of a hat the dealership, and then I picked the trainer and matched everybody up. And Jeff, your name got picked twice, so I figured I'd put you first and next to last.
And by the way, I think you have a great deep voice, so I say go for it. I have a vote, right?
All right, so Jeff, the first thing that Jeff Weiler did was they picked up the phone and they left me a voicemail. What do you think of that?
You know, I'm all for that. I think there's still some questions around that. I personally like to see an email first. You know, I'll go back to the whole permission-based marketing, permission-based contact. Yeah, they contacted us first. I'd like my first email to go out asking the customer permission to call. Doesn't mean I won't go ahead and call anyways, but I always like to have that quick email that goes out, introducing myself real quickly and saying, hey, and the last question in the email says, would it be okay to call you within the next 10 to 15 minutes? Or if you want to keep it a little bit more open, would it be okay to call you sometime this afternoon? Because you'd really be surprised when you make that your first email, how many people respond back. Again, very text related. It's no graphics, nothing. It's very, very personal. And you know, you sort of set that up so it's coming from your iPhone. And again, you're asking a question, would it be okay to call you today? You'd be really surprised by how many people respond back to that with a different phone number. Because like, well, actually, I'm at work. Why don't you call me here? But since you showed that urgency to serve the customer, you can get a response back. But it's great to see they went ahead and made a phone call right away. You know, it's
what do you think of this phone call?
Well, it's a little hard to score because I'm so used to hearing live calls, whereas, of course, this is a voicemail. They don't give up a lot of information, which I like. They keep it pretty direct. Obviously, they introduce themselves. They give plenty of contact information to call back. I didn't really see a lot of sense of urgency or, you know, hey, I've got something great here for you. Give me a call back. Sometimes you want to put that cliffhanger in there to keep them guessing, okay, what's you got for me?
Right, I agree with you 100%. You know, short, sweet, create some curiosity, and you know, intrigue the customer to want to call you. So I do believe that they can get better there.
It's so hard to get people to actually call you back, and I hate, you know, I hate to call it a trick, but you know, if you use that, hey, I've got something really important for you. I think you're going to love it. You know, it definitely entices that customer.
All right, so let's move on to their first email that they send out, which is this one right here. Take us through this. Tell us what you like, what you don't like.
Your price quote, one thing, I mean, it's all in how you run your dealership. They go straight to the price quote. You know, if the customer's asking for a price, I can understand why a lot of dealerships take that practice. It's formulated pretty well. You've got links going back to the individual BDPs. Everything's about the BDP right now. Let's increase our BDP shows. I like the fact that we've got inventory selection here. You know, we'll probably get into a lot of the other emails here later. And I get to see a lot of mystery shops, and dealerships do not send inventory selection. It's unbelievable. So great job at that. Scroll all the way down, Jerry. Let's take a quick look at the signature line. Not bad. Good, clean signature line. Another thing that I take notice to is a lot of dealerships forget to offer the phone numbers in the signature lines. We've got to remember that consumers are reading emails on their mobile devices. We've got to formulate our emails for that. And when you've got the phone number in there, they can click on that. You know, you got the click to call feature. You're set to go. Yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more urgency in here. If you scroll up just above, my rule is you never, ever end an email without a question. And the question needs to entice that customer. Again, permission-based. Would it be okay to call you this evening? Can I send you something else? Are you looking for, you know, the auto report? Can I send you the auto report on this vehicle? I believe in training that you do not end an email without a question.
I agree, and that's probably one of the biggest things that I noticed with a lot of the people that submitted leads was they didn't ask for anything from the customer, and there's going to be an ask in there as well. What do you think, Jeff, of, a lot of these dealerships that I see are putting this little header picture in their very first email. What do you think of that?
I personally am not a fan of it.
I agree.
And what I'll see is, too, again, you got to remember, customers are on their phone, and sometimes you get, those things don't show up, or they've got images turned off, or it takes up space before you get to the meat. Especially again, less real estate on the phone. I want to get straight to the action right away. I don't need why do I need that there? What's it for?
Yeah,
what purpose?
I agree.
I agree. Yeah, other than saying, hey, I get to see my own name, my own dealership name. And a lot of times you'll see, and we'll see in one of the examples here, where the signature line wasn't included because they probably felt as if they didn't need to because they got it included in the image.
Yeah, and what's your thought on this? Obviously, there's a lot of information on this first page, and in my opinion, if I have to scroll to read, you've probably written too much. People don't have a lot of time to invest in reading emails, and there is a lot of information here in this very first email. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a lot of information. I would probably trim it down a little bit, but I do understand what they're trying to accomplish with inventory selection.
All right, so let's look at the next email, which was this one. Did you get a chance to watch this video?
I did. I love the fact that they're leveraging video, obviously. I love the tool that they're using, the Authentic Walk-Around app, very easy. You can use it to show some urgency because you can actually go out and record a video right away. Love that feature. This particular video we don't need to get into. It wasn't personal. It was just basically a video, very good video. I mind you, it's very well put together. A little long. It played great on my iPhone. That's one thing I went through, was to make sure anyone that included a video, could I watch it on my phone? This email looked perfect on my phone. They did have, throughout the different pieces, there was some personalization, and then later on we've got some emails where they throw in some
right. And this was the second email that he sent with another video. This video is personalized. He uses the lead's name, talks to the lead. I believe this video should have been sent earlier than
this
video was okay.
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
Should have been
I concur.
The first video.
All right, so we got about a little over a minute left. What else do you want to talk about in here? You can obviously, this guy follows up a lot.
It was email 6. It wasn't really an email, but it was. They actually sent me a text asking me if I would like to opt in. So
yes.
I don't know if you see it on here. So
here it is, right here.
Emails, phone calls, inventory selection, was asked to opt in for text communication if I'd like to do that. I'd like to see a little bit more personalization around it. Let's move that one video email where they use, where the video is more personal, let's move that up to the front and maybe take the other one and move that one closer to the back. Again, I got 14 points of communication here. So if there's any lack of within the content of the emails, which I still think is the most important, they definitely make up for it in the frequency of contacts and the different channels.
Yes, he did a great job.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They even sent us. We even got an email from the general manager, which I liked as well.
I did, but again, attention, interest, urgency, and action. We lack an action in here. Again, here's the GM relying on the phone number at the top, and we don't have a full signature line. So just some little tweaks here I think could really make a pretty good difference for him.
All right, well, Jeff,
great job.
Yep, I agree. Jeff, thank you for your expert commentary. Next up, we have Ralph, and Ralph is going to be reviewing Chuck Hutton Toyota. You ready to go, Ralph?
Sure am. First of all, I just want to say I've always been a big fan of the Jeff Wyler organization. I think they did an outstanding job, and for that to be the first one we look at, it really sets the benchmark pretty high. The first thing that I would comment about with the Chuck Hutton response is, at first, it really seemed odd to me that there seemed to be a handoff between Nikita and Alex. We had two different internet sales managers get involved. which I think can sometimes in the beginning throw somebody off. And then the other thing that you notice is there's a huge gap between the initial response and then the follow-up. And the phone call, the first phone call was made 6 days after the lead was received. So, you know, there's certainly a lot of room for improvement in the response from Chuck Hutton Toyota Scion. The first thing I would say is for that first email to be, if you want to know a little bit more about me before you visit our dealership to purchase your new car, that can really put people off. First of all, it's very presumptive. It suggests that you know, you've already decided to purchase a new car from our dealership, which I know we all say start with the assumed close, but I think for it to be the first response from Nikita, I would have preferred to have seen it address the specific inquiry from the lead. So in my opinion, the very first response should show that you're listening by regurgitating back to the customer what they asked you about. So I understand you're interested in a red Toyota Camry or whatever the case may be, and then also regurgitate back the information. I've got this as your phone number. Is this the preferred phone number you want me to use? All of that is missing in this. What we're looking at is something that says, if you want to learn a little bit more about me, most people I know are not going to be interested in the salesperson this early. They're going to be interested in the vehicle that they inquired about. So in my opinion, that first email would have been better if it would have focused on what the customer asked about. The phone call.
Hey, Ralph, real quick, let me stop here. Look at this video. Notice how it's all center justified. Kind of strange, isn't it?
That's bad. It should be left justified so it looks better on a mobile device. And again, that image, I agree with what everybody said about the image at the top. You know, it's very pleasing as a general manager to look at this email, but you got to put yourself in the position of the customer who's most likely receiving it on a mobile device and say, is this the best use of that space, which is probably going to be a box with a red X. So,
right.
I would rather see everything left justified, the text up at the top. And one thing I would like to comment on that you and Jeff were talking about, I think it's great to provide a lot of information in an email, but you have to look at it like a triage. In other words, what goes on the top? What should they see without scrolling down? Now, if you're going to be doing price quotes in multiple vehicles and it's a little further down, that's okay, because as long as you have the most important part of the email and the call to action in that top section where you don't have to scroll down, I think you're okay. But I will say that I don't like the first email. I think it could have been a lot better.
And also, what do you think looks better, having that or that?
Yeah, the VIP video for Ralph Paglia, you know, Jerry, you just inserted that just for everybody's clarification. That was not actually in the email response. But it does. The one thing I'll say in justification to the YouTube, if it was, there's enough people out there that are so comfortable with YouTube, sometimes they're more likely to play it if they see it's a YouTube video. But I do believe the personalization is everything today. I think the more we can personalize our responses so that the customer knows it's not automated and it's not you know, a canned response that everybody gets, that it actually mentions their name, gives them back, reflects some of the information in the original inquiry, I think that we're more likely to get that customer's attention. And the most important part is the email really should set the stage for the phone call. And in my opinion, that's what the emails are all about. The emails are to you know, fertilize the ground, so to speak, so that the customer is more likely to even answer the phone call, or even better yet.
All right, great. Let's go on to the next.
I'm going to call you.
All right.
So now we switch
I agree.
from Nikita to Alice. And again, there's no explanation for the switch. However, it is 6 days later, so I suspect that Nikita might not work there anymore. The email, I think, you know, he does a decent job. I mean, he's responding. He's offering multiple vehicles. He's putting down some price quotes and he's given a couple of good links. I think I would have preferred if he would have put some of the things like view the current special incentives up in the first part where you don't have to scroll down to see it, because it's highly likely that they don't. So we have to really value that real estate that's in the top part of the email. That's going to be very important. The other part of it is when when you're regurgitating back to the customer their information, I think it's really important to be very specific about saying, here's the information we received from you. Is the number phone number I received is this the best number? And just like what Jeff Kirshner said, if you do that early on, oftentimes they will reply with a better phone number to call them. And let's face it, the whole purpose of the email is to get to a phone conversation. The whole purpose of the phone conversation is to get an appointment that shows up. So I really would like to see more emphasis on the email setting the stage for a phone call.
All right. And speaking of phone call, what did you think of their phone call?
You know, I've listened to it a couple times. It's a voicemail. They left the voicemail. At first I thought he was giving too much information, and then after listening to it, I thought, well, you know, if I'm the customer, this guy sounds very helpful. He's giving specific information in the voicemail. The one criticism that I'll say is that the voice message sounded to me as if he was giving all this information so he would not have to follow up with another call. The other thing is I think he should have placed more emphasis in the voicemail on making that direct connection and less emphasis on delivering information, because a voicemail that delivers a lot of information is sort of like an email that delivers a lot of information. We still don't have the engagement going on between the salesperson and the customer. So I would have preferred less emphasis on information and more emphasis on the importance of connecting and the value to the customer of speaking directly with the salesperson. That's the most important thing. What's in it for the customer? The voicemail needs to leave some hook that gives the customer a reason to call the salesperson back. And I didn't really feel that. After listening to it 3 or 4 times, I did not feel that Josh gave us a strong reason to call him back.
Okay. What other emails would you like to talk about? Here's another one that he sent us as well.
I don't feel that they're personalized enough. I think what we're looking at here are templates. They're being used. I agree. I don't like it when we put the burden on the customer to call them. So in all of these, he says, you know, my phone number is this number, call me. I would prefer to turn it around and say, at 1 o'clock this afternoon, I am going to call you. Again, please take my call. I very much want to provide you with the best possible service and earn your business, or something like that. I would like to see the emails, again, more focused on setting the stage for the phone call.
All right, and then, you know, there's this email, which is building value of the dealership. There's an email that they send out that comes from the general manager. And I'm not crazy about the way this one's spaced out.
Well, the quality assurance emails from the general manager are proven effective. Every dealer that uses them, obviously you see them in different formats. What I prefer to see is the general manager say, by now our internet sales representative should have contacted you and you would have had a conversation, and this is what would have happened. If for any reason this has not happened, so if for any reason the process hasn't been successful, please call me directly on my personal cell phone at this number. What you're going to find is there are a lot of customers out there that when the general manager says, if everything is not going exactly the way you expected it to go, here's my personal cell phone, call me. I am going to make sure that you're taken care of properly.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, that generates a huge amount of call volume. Again, this is not scary. The dealers that are doing this sort of thing, it works. And I see a lot of room for improvement here for Chuck Hutton.
Hey, before we, time's up, Rob, before we go, what's your opinion on this last email here with the little...
Favorite one. This is my favorite one of them all because it delivers value to the consumer. It gives them quick links to valuable assets on the dealer's website, and I like it. I think
it probably should have been sent sooner, in my opinion.
Much sooner, much sooner. I mean, it was sent almost 2 weeks. 2 weeks after the lead. That's way too late. This should have been sent on the second day after the lead.
All right, Ralph, we got to end it there. So let's vote. Let's start with Grant. Who do you vote for?
Grant.
Who do you like, Grant? All right, we'll cut.
Let's see, my decision. Jeff Weiler Chevy.
All right, Jeff Kirshner. Who do you vote for?
I give it to Jeff Weiler.
Eric, who do you vote for?
Jeff Weiler.
Bill?
Weiler.
All right, we need not ask anybody else. Jeff Weiler advances to the next round.
How?
They have nice one.
All right, great. Let's go on to, let's see, we've got round 3. We're going to go with Grant Cardone, and Grant is going to be reviewing
Round
Massey.
2. Round 2,
Round two. Grant, you're live with Massey Hyundai.
Okay, well, Robert, in this particular call, I think did an exceptional job. He's responding almost immediately after the call at 8:34 p.m., which I know many salespeople would leave this till tomorrow. So it's a little long for me, but I happen to know Robert is extremely successful. He's one of the top-selling Hyundai salespeople in the country, so it's kind of hard to challenge success. He's saying, hey, I'll wait for your call. If I don't hear back from you, I'll try again. So he's already making it clear that he's calling them if he doesn't hear from them.
And you know, one of the things I love about Robert is his tenacity. The guy does not give up. He's like a pit bull latching onto a steak bone. And what maybe his message might not deliver, he does it in quantity, and he just overwhelms people, I think, and until they're like, okay, I got to talk to this guy. I mean, you can see all the different Google voice calls.
Yeah, and I think people are missing that understanding that the customer still needs, you still have to go after this customer. They're out shopping. You don't know where they're at in a cycle. They're probably on the wrong car. And he knows that. He knows that this internet lead is no different. While some people will disagree with this, he knows it's no different. And then you can see just moments after the email, he sends out a video email, which I think is extremely impressive, with very little text. It just says, click here to view the video.
And here's the video. You can see he's using a product called Co-Video, which also has some links.
Yeah, so he basically gets a link reminder showing that the customer actually hit it. So he's going to get a warning or an email saying, hey, Joe, customer hit this link.
Right, which is a good time to call the customer back while they're watching your video.
Yeah, exactly. So look at here he is at 8:34, then 8:46, and then 9 o'clock he sends out another email. That's 3 emails in a period of 26 minutes. Now the only person that would be offended by that is those people out there that are not being this aggressive, because this is exactly what is required to get the attention of this customer. So I know many people could take the position like, oh, you're going to bother this guy. Robert Wiseman is in the top 1% of all the salespeople in this country who is doing the exact right thing. You don't need permission from this customer. They contact you. They requested information, and I think Robert's doing a great job here, regardless of what the content is, of literally, like you said, Jerry, overwhelming this client.
Yeah, and what's your opinion? I think he could have put a little bit more information into this email.
I disagree, Jerry. I wouldn't put anything else in there.
All right. Hey, you're right. I mean, it gets it clicked on, and hey, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. For me, particularly like when I'm looking at other industries, which we do a lot of work outside of just automotive, but I see people sending me content. I agree with what Ralph said earlier. Look, when I'm hitting Macy's or the Boss store or a watch store, I don't care about the individual. I want to know about the watch, the shirt, the suit, or whatever. And you have to be able to get my, I'm an impulse buyer, so you have to get my attention and then maybe go back and get it again and again and again until I'm ready back in the cycle again. So you'll notice also, Jerry, I just want to comment also that this guy's still sending communication at 9 o'clock at night, and he starts again the next morning, 9:49, then at 12:16 the next day. He sends out 5 more communications the following day.
Yeah, many phone calls. And then he sends this email, which it's simple to the point. He's asking the customer when's the best time to reach you, and he's doing it from his iPhone.
Exactly. Unlike earlier, some earlier examples we saw, he's actually asking for something from the customer.
Yes, I agree. And then we have this email where he sends us another video. You can see that, and that video, let's pull that video up because this is a pretty interesting video. And I've seen this video before. And what's cool about this video, Grant, I don't know if you know this or not, but if you go into Google and you type in Honda Accord, Hagerstown, Maryland, this comes up in the first page. And he's driving traffic to his dealership from people who are looking at a Honda. And this video's got 28,000 hits on it. And he does a nice little walk-around presentation on this video.
Yeah, and the other thing, Jerry, good observation there. Robert does an excellent job of branding the store, and even a better job of branding himself. He walks a very precarious line with branding the store, always putting the name of the store out there, but also does an unbelievably creative job at branding himself constantly.
Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, right here in this last email he sends, he's got a link to his own website, and I'll click on that so you can pull it
You're
up.
a Hyundai guy. Notice it's a great tag name.
Yeah, and that's coming up here. Hopefully that loads pretty quickly. Here we go. What do you think of his website?
I think yeah, it's great. Look, it's great. Robert he's a professional. The guy does an exceptional job, not just with phones, not just with internet, not just with showroom floor, but with follow-up. He's a consummate and complete salesperson. He's a pro.
And I'll share something with the audience here. Having worked for a CRM company prior to starting Phone Ninjas, I used to look at contact rates, and you can go to a CRM system and see how many phone calls are dealers making to a customer. And I would see dealerships at 50% or 150%, 100%. Well, the dealerships that were at 50% were generally only making 3 calls per dealership, and then they'd give up, they'd stop. The dealerships that were achieving a 150% contact rate on average would make 9 dials per customer. The more dials you make, the more likely you are to eventually get that customer on the phone. It's not that they don't want to talk to you, it's just that maybe they're busy when you try calling the first time.
Yeah, good point. The other thing, the only advice I might give Robert here is if you look at his subject lines, I might change those subject lines to be sexier and maybe more mysterious.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I love that one, Grant. Any final thoughts for our audience before we move on to the next one?
No, just like I thought he did a great job of leaving voice messages like, I have great news, call me back, I have something important to show you. That video that you sent that was 5 minutes long, personally, I would use some other videos of other cars and say, wow, we just got this in, it'll save you $4,000. I would show people other products maybe in some of that video that Robert used, but I thought he did a great job, very persistent, very professional, and a great job on branding.
All right, very good. Thank you, Grant.
Gentlemen,
all right, next.
Before you move on, of course, Robert Weissman is on the call now, hearing all of your great comments. He wanted me to remind you he doesn't only have yourhyundaiguy.com, he also has robertweissman.com, if that makes any difference to you.
Hey, and you know what? Here, the guy's got 2 websites, and most people out there don't have any websites. So, hey, congratulations, Robert, doing a great job. All right, our next contestant is Park Chrysler Jeep, and once again, you can see this image up here. I encourage you guys to take these things out. And when you put too much stuff in an email, it does increase your chances of being spammed. So we got good afternoon, Skip. I'm not crazy about that right there. I would just rather see the customer's first name with a comma. I'm not crazy about the fonts they use here, a little small. My eyesight's starting to go now that I'm getting close to 50. And, maybe use a little bit bigger font. And once again, we have a lot of choices here. And while I like choices, I don't like too many choices. When you put limited choices in front of people, it's easier for them to pick. But when you put way too many options out there, people have a hard time choosing what they want to pick. And I've read books about this, and fewer choices is better than putting out a whole lot of them out there. You can see that this initial email was loaded with links. Maybe Ralph can answer this question, but I've read that generally you want to have less than 2 links per email in your initial emails.
It's one of the triggers. A combination of multiple, excessive number of links combined with certain other characteristics in an email can trigger a spam filter review. Almost any email sent by a car dealer that goes through the spam filter is going to be marked as spam because you're going to have certain words like buying experience, free. One comment I've been dying to interject with, though, on the subject of subject line. Put your cell phone number in the subject line. Let the customer call you back by tapping the subject line without even opening the email. Make it super easy for the customer to call you.
Great point, Ralph. And here's another spam trigger phrase. Click here is a spam trigger phrase.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
If you want to find out what words not to use in your emails, go onto Google and type spam trigger words, spam trigger phrases, because there are certain things like a lot of people put right in the subject line, information you requested. Well, that is a spam trigger subject line phrase. So,
sales opportunity, buying opportunity, these are all spam
yeah, so you really got to, and I noticed a few of them in this one. So he sends me an email first, and unlike some of the other our guests on the phone here, I'm not my philosophy is pick up the phone and call the customer, because one of two things is going to happen. Well, A, you might not have a phone number, then you do have to send the email. But if you have a phone number, the people are giving it to you because they expect you to call them. So when I call, yes.
Jerry, I'm sure you probably would add on to that timing is everything. If you get the email right away and you call the customer right away, it's perceived as incredible customer service. If you get the lead and you call the customer the next day without having sent an email, then it's perceived as a negative. So it's all about the timing. If you can do it immediately, if you can call them within 5 minutes after they hit the submit button, they're just wowed by your customer service.
Yes, and when you call somebody, you know, a couple things are going to happen. You're going to get them live, you're going to get the voicemail. You get the voicemail, then you send out the email, hey, I just tried calling you. If you get them live, well, now the email that you send them is going to be dictated by what happens on that phone call. If you made an appointment, your email is going to be, thank you for sending your lead. It was a pleasure talking on the phone. We look forward to seeing you at, and repeat the appointment time. Give them directions. If you can't get the appointment, then your email is going to give them more information, the information that you requested. My philosophy is you give out the information that they ask for when they ask for it. But if they don't ask for information and you can make the appointment, that's your best method. We can see that T also left me a voicemail as well, and it was a very long-winded voicemail. You know, personally, when I get a voicemail, I'm hoping that it's short, sweet, and to the point, because I usually forward it on to one of my administrative assistants, and I'll let them deal with it. Or, you know, if it's something urgent, I'll call the customer back myself. But I like those voicemails to be short, sweet, to the point, and nobody wants to listen to a 1-minute voicemail. Think about that yourself when you're listening to your voicemails. Here's another email that he sends. Once again, he's got the picture up there. He's got some different vehicles in here. Just maybe a few too many. And then once again, it's a lengthy email. He follows up with another phone call. So 2 phone calls in 2 days. This one's a little bit shorter and sweeter. And he's got another email to me here, talking about their goals and how they're going to help me. So this isn't a bad email.
I'd like to also mention, Jerry, we have some people. We have some people from Park Chrysler Jeep on the call, of course, listening to your feedback, and they wanted me to let you know that the gentleman who responded, Craig, actually had no idea that he was being entered into this contest.
That's awesome. I love it.
And so they wanted you to know that they didn't do anything different for this contest than they normally would have, where maybe some of the other people, you know, put in extra effort. You know, of course, there's $1,000 at stake. But they wanted you to know this was completely a blind
that's awesome.
Attempt.
I love it. I love it. Now, they also sent this email out, which is kind of interesting. It's about service, you know, bringing my car in there for service. So
I love that.
Yeah, it's you know, hey, maybe I am in the market for an oil change right now. And it also goes to show, you know, when people are buying cars, obviously service is something that's important to them after that fact. So I do like this email as well.
Yeah, it's too bad there's so many images in it, though, because those will actually look like giant red X's probably in somebody's email box.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. All right, so it's time to vote. Let's. I think this is going to be a pretty easy vote. Grant, who do you vote for?
I vote for Robert, just because. Yeah, I vote for Robert.
All right, Jeff, who do you vote for? Ralph, who do you vote for?
Give them to Robert.
Robert Weissman, your Hyundai guy.
All right, I'm going to go with Robert myself. So we're going to move. We're going to move out to Massey after the second. Now, here's the tough one, gentlemen. We're now going to vote on Jeff Weiler versus Massey, and let's start with Jeff Kirshner. Who do you vote for, Jeff? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that, Jeff.
Ooh. Said ooh. Skip me for that one. No. I'm gonna have to give it to Jeff. You know, I'm looking at the frequency. I don't know. That's a tough one.
All right.
Yeah, there's Grant. There's no, to me, the amount of creativity that the guy at Massey used.
Yeah.
The frequency that he followed up at. It's just no contest to me. I love the guys at Weiler. He did a great job, but I'd give it to Massey.
Okay, and this is probably going to be the toughest vote of all of them. So, Ralph, who do you give it to?
I got to go with Robert Weissman and Massey for the same reasons that Grant stated, but I just want to say I love the Jeff Weiler process because I know it's consistent and it's duplicated and executed all the time, whereas at Massey, if they ever send a lead to somebody other than Robert Weissman,
that's
you're
right.
not going to get nearly the same level of follow-up.
I couldn't agree more.
Right, Ralph.
I couldn't agree more.
All right, Billy, you go with Massey yourself?
Yeah, and just the exact same reason for Ralph. I think you're dealing with a rock star at Massey. I think Weiler's probably got a sound process, but just looking at these things A to B, I got to go with Massey.
All right, Eric, you on the same page?
Massey.
All right, Eric. All right, so Massey is our semifinalist. All right, let's go on to round 3. We now have Eric, you're up, and we're going to bring your dealership up right now. That would be Fremont Motor Company.
I hope Brian's on this call as well. Brian, I thought did a great job with this, and I hope everybody on the webinar as well in the audience pays attention a little bit to just to the core basics that he covered here in terms of some key issues that I think everybody needs to have in the process between a quick response. He nails the transparency and the price. He touches on the availability for trade. He kills it with the vehicle options and the price. He covers all the other items in terms of advantages of the product, at least that the customer is interested in. He hits on the appointment request. He nails it back with a couple other voicemails as well. In terms of mechanics with this, I don't like the center justified. Obviously, we touched on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There were a few people that did that. I'm not sure what's up with that. Why people center justify? It should be left justified.
Yeah, just I like the simplicity of his emails as well. You know, I think it was Grant that mentioned it earlier. He's not talking too much about himself, but he's nailing down the main items that the customer is interested in. Not only did he cover the car itself, gave it a little bit of a plug. You know, he touched on the price. He also hit on the internet price. You know, he gave, obviously, you see you got the links in there. He covered the specifics and the advantages of the vehicle. And then, you know, I thought he killed it with the video response that he provided for the customer as well. And then on top of that, you know, he's using a Bitly link on that. I haven't seen that in any of the other responses. So he's able to track his response back to the customer. Yeah, and he's just giving this guy everything that he needs to know, obviously, about the vehicle, the price, the location. He even hit on the fact that he's got some higher price models in terms of the Dodge Dart Limited, and then he was talking about some of the used vehicles that he's got in stock. He even had a few used ones in a couple of the emails that he mentioned. And then again, he ended the email very, very strong with a call to action. Asked the guy if he wants to come back in tomorrow or the next day. There was on one of the other emails he asked that. Yeah, I thought this was a great textbook example all the key items that any dealership should be should be hitting on.
Hey, what about his phone call here? What do you think of his phone call?
I think this was maybe a B. I would give it maybe a B, B minus. It was it was fairly quick, fairly short, but again, it's at least he's got it in there. He's got his phone number that he's giving back. But I think the key to all of his messages, there was a general theme just with brevity. And he was hitting all the key points, and it wasn't too long. Especially given the fact, like we said before, that at least 50% of all emails today are being opened up on on a mobile device. He's foregoing the the tall header block that we mentioned earlier. He's got a simple simple signature there. I think I think the fact that he's got everything else, at least with a question or a call to action or a link. He's got the pictures, he's got the videos. Again, I can't say enough just in terms of the basic core mechanics of this. And he's got the consistency too. There were several follow-ups too.
Yeah, Eric, I want to point one thing out about this video that he made. I absolutely love this video. He talks, notice it's a minute and a half, but the thing that I really absolutely loved about this video that really humanized him and made him seem really personal is notice the picture of his family in the background.
Yeah,
and he talks about in the video, he's like, hey, if I don't get back to you right away, it's because I'm spending time with my beautiful family, my lovely wife, my 2 sons. And then he goes, and my daughter, who wants to be a princess when she grows up. If I'm a mother, I'm instantly like, I'm buying a car from this guy. This guy is cool. He values his children, and that personal.
And
touch.
Jerry.
Yeah.
The most interesting thing is the guy's not married and doesn't have kids.
That's a great one, Grant. That's pretty funny.
Stick to the game with a frame.
All right. So anything you'd like to add in addition before we move on to the next one, Eric?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that stuck out to me was the fact that he didn't go into the typical email drivel that everybody has to add in there in terms of, hey, we're here to give you the best possible buying experience in your region. Of course, everybody's doing that. But this guy, he got to the point. He showed him the info. He gave him the price. Gave him the other options. He's got pictures. He's got links. He's got his competitive advantages. And it was everything that I felt. And I tried to put myself in a buyer's shoes when I was looking at this guy's responses. And I thought that Brian did a very, very good job of being super direct and short and just getting me all of the info on this Dodge Dart. And then he was secondary, the dealership was secondary, and I still felt comfortable with it. So I give Brian high praises on this.
All right. Well, thank you for your commentary. Bill Playford, you're up, my friend. You ready to go?
First off, I do want to. Yep, I'm good. You guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So had to do the mic check. So just want to give a quick shout-out to all the people who submitted their requests. It takes a lot of courage to be critiqued. So I do want to give a hat tip to those folks. I think you're all warriors. So, with that, let's talk about Kathy, and let's look at that first email. She doesn't mess around. She sent a picture of herself, which I love. She sent a personal validation of the vehicle. A lot of times people miss that from their emails, talking about how they like the vehicle. And she asked for an appointment with specific time intervals. She has a picture of the vehicle, a price range, an example of a lease price, an offer of an alternate model, a kitchen sink, third-party validation from Edmunds and Cars. So there's lots of information in this, lots of information about the vehicle from horsepower to fuel economy. So she did a really good job, with including a lot of information. On the downside, and this has been talked about a lot already, I don't want to go on ad nauseum, huge header, and unfortunately the picture of herself is built into the header. So the sad thing is people may not actually get to see that picture. Again, just kind of to go to Ralph's point, there's 9 different links in this particular email, so it's going to set off some red flags. There's a whole array of fonts, different sizes, different formats, so that's going to mess with the spam filters as well. There's a couple typos I found on this one, and that's my job. I pick these things up, so most people would notice that. I'm a little retentive about that stuff. And it's just long. Just kind of go to Jeff's point and Eric's points on the cell phones. I mean, it took me 7 scrolls on an iPhone 4 to get through this email. and with some studies showing as much as 80% of people, viewing emails on their phones, a lot of this information won't get read. So that's my big concern with that first email. And but overall, this is like a preemptive nuclear strike of information. There's not a whole lot left to question from the customer standpoint if they can read through the whole thing. So, awesome first effort on her part. I'm sure it took a long time to do this.
All right, so let's talk about her first voicemail to you. Yeah,
and she left 3 voicemails through the course of the 3 weeks, and all of them are pretty much the same. I really like her tone. I think she's got a great natural tone. She made reference to what was sent in the emails. She always followed up her emails with a phone call. The timing is really tight in terms of that. She did offer a test drive. She gave hours. The only thing I think that was consistently lacking in her emails was that she left a lot of open-ended times. We're open from X to Y, and didn't say, when's a good time to come in, this afternoon, this evening, or something along those times. And just to kind of go your point, Jerry, and I think this is something you would certainly reiterate to your clients as well. You want to actually get people to pick, just give them a couple different options.
Right. Yep. And here's an email from the general manager, and I think there were only 2 or 3 of the dealerships that submitted leads had the GM email come out, and like Ralph said earlier, it generates phone calls to your dealership, and
I agree with that. I think he actually did include some alternate phone numbers, which didn't necessarily agree with what was in the signature or the banner per se. But I like the idea. It felt like a direct line. Again, with this picture being at the top there, most people wouldn't see that if you put that next to his signature. It'd probably get viewed. I think overall with this one, it's just way too soon. I think that this adds value in the process, but not on the second email. I think it's way too soon for that.
And also, if I'm the general manager of a dealership, I would probably want my picture to have a suit and tie.
I like the personal image, though. I see your point, but I think it personalizes it. It makes this guy look like a human being and not just like every other manager in a suit and tie. So maybe a T-shirt maybe would be a little bit of a stretch, but I think I like the idea. It looks like it's not too contrived and too made up, and he doesn't have a phone to his ear or something stupid like that.
Yeah. All right. Great. Another voicemail. Here's another email from Kathy.
Yeah, and that one, it's the same thing. It's kind of short, sweet. It's got a helpful tone. Includes a very short value proposition. I like the invitation to chat. I think that's strong. I think it's good to offer up your.
I guess that must work on the phone. It's a broken link here, so it's not working in the email.
I wasn't able to click the link either, but people have different channels of communication, and some people may want to chat. So I like the idea that she's offering that up. Again, we have some formatting issues. At least when I open it in my computer, the signature fonts don't match the body of the text fonts. And that kind of
I totally agree with that. Totally agree with that.
Looking at the next email, we're a week in, and we finally get something of a bit of a value proposition here. The only really unfortunate thing is it's an image. So again, if it's a situation where we have this value proposition and we have to click something, people may not see that. So it might be good to include at least some of the highlights of that in the text so that people can actually read it if they're using a mobile device or they're using a free email service like Hotmail. This also came from a third party, Alyssa Gomez, and I don't know where she fits in the equation, but now we have the actual person who's handling the lead, their manager, and some other third party involved now. So the customer may not know who to contact. So that's another thing we're just going to be careful about.
All right, any other feedback you want to give?
No, actually, I do, because I want to go in the later emails, because those ones are actually the most valuable. By the 5th email, she's starting to actually ask some questions. And prior to this, she hasn't asked any questions of the customer whatsoever to build a dialogue. And, from minute 1, your emails should be asking questions. You want to build that dialogue with the customer. You want to give them a reason to contact you, call you back, send an email, chat with you, whatever. And we're well into a week into this, we're finally just starting to ask some questions. They're kind of even rhetorical questions. We'll get the customer to think, and I think it's important to highlight that. And then, finally on the 7th email, this is kind of my ideal email. And this is one I probably would include maybe on the 2nd day. It's asking for alternate phone numbers. It's asking for better times to call. It's offering to update on inventory. The invite for a test drive again. She has one of the strongest statements I think I've ever read in an email, and it's unfortunate it's the very last one, but it says it is one of the, in regards to the test drive, it is one of the last free things available in life. and you get a chance to experience our award-winning customer service. And so, what's going on with the echo?
I have no idea who is having so much problems.
Okay, so nevertheless, I think that that's a really, really strong statement, and I really would encourage any of the callers to use something like that, because that really jumped out at me. I've read, literally thousands of these types of emails as part of what we do at my company, and this is a really strong statement. So, overall, I think she has all the right elements. I just think they're out of order. I think with just a few tweaks, she's right on the right track to making this good.
And Bill, I wanted to just point out a couple things because I've been getting notes from some of the people in the audience. Apparently, Alyssa is the internet manager at Arnie Bauer. Okay, so that was number one.
Okay.
And we also had a comment that came in from Kevin Fry. He says, I don't know how familiar today's experts are with the GM requirements for your first email, but that could explain why that first email is so long.
That's a good point. And GM is probably among the, how to put this, least knowledgeable on how customers are actually responding. So I don't know how much value that adds. Based on the research that we do with our clients, those emails typically don't get opened that much. And so just kind of going from empirical data, I don't know how valuable it is right there. I think it needs to be there. I like the idea of having that in there, but that's not something to do in the second day, in my opinion. I'd like to get the other panelists' opinion on that if we got time. I'd love to hear that.
Good enough. Jerry?
Actually, I didn't hear the question. I apologize. What was your question, Bill?
No, in terms of having that GM email, this is Kevin Fry's question. In terms of having that GM email, is it good to have that in the first 48 hours? And I disagree with that. But
I mean, if GM makes you do it, you probably should do it if that's what they're asking for. But I'm going to reserve comment on that. I choose not to jump in on that one.
Well, I'll jump in on it. Look, you guys out there making a living selling cars, you need to do what's effective for you and your families and your dealership. The manufacturers have too much of an influence in this process already. Think about what you're going to do to take care of your family, and the way you're going to take care of your family is to take care of the customer. It's too much data. I've already done 11 hours of research on the internet. I don't need a book sent to me, an encyclopedia.
Love it, Grant. All right, so let's vote. Grant, who do you vote for, Fremont or Arnie?
I'm going last this time. I'm going last. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Bill, who do you vote for, Fremont or Arnie Bauer?
Sorry, Kathy. You got to go with Fremont.
All right. Jeff Kirshner.
Fremont.
Ralph Paglia. Ralph, who do you vote for?
Oh, wow.
Fremont Motors because of timing. Arnie Bauer, they had that great email, but it was way too late.
Okay. I think we have a majority vote there. Fremont is our next finalist. And let's move on now to Sunset Honda. And I believe Jeff is going to be reviewing Sunset Honda. Now, before we jump into Sunset Honda, I'm going to have to give some background here on Elise. Obviously, Elise is awesome at what she does. And, she's been going through a lot lately. She's had a new baby recently. She's working a job at the dealership. She was just recently at Jim Ziegler's Battle Plan. So she did not have a lot of time to put a major effort, Elise Kephart type style effort in like she normally would. But we have 2 emails from Elise, and Jeff, go ahead and let's talk about them.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm glad you started off with that, because that was really one of my concerns was the fact that we only received 2 emails from her. But with that being said, really, I think the second email was almost the first email. So let's go ahead.
Yeah, this is the first email right here. Sure.
Great, fantastic. So, I'm going to point out the great things about this email. Very personal. No one does the personalization quite like Elise does. Very professional in her videos and her follow-up email. Again, she adds some of that guessing. She says, one of the first things she says is, I've got some great news for you. Call me at. She's all about selling herself and the experience. Just watching her video, you can sort of get the value of her experience. She doesn't get into pricing. Even within her videos, it is all about the experience with Elise. Good high frequency and her contact information within the videos. Again, a lot of this is really judging the content within the videos that she sends. She shows urgency to serve. The video comes out pretty quick. I don't know how she's able to do it so fast. She must have one hell of a template put together. Yeah, and what I really like, and if you get the opportunity to see, very personal, and I love how she includes the customer testimonials in her video towards the end. Pretty slick, great idea. Again, very professional, showing the urgency. Everything looks great on the iPhone. On my iPhone, everything came across great. She is using the big graphic up there. I think she actually has some title in there, so if you don't see it, she's got the click here to follow. You say that it's one to a YouTube link.
Right. It's put that picture, and she had that developed. Put that picture, and then she links it to the YouTube video that she makes.
Correct. And then down below, she even includes another video that I know she's got already set up in her PS notes. So great job with PS. We haven't seen a lot of that. Again, sent from the iPhone. Urgency there. Second email. Yeah. Really, this email is just confirming with the customer that they received the first email with the video. With this one, there's some things here that we could definitely improve. I love the fact that it's short and sweet, no header, all that good stuff, but no phone number. If I receive this, watch the other one, but I received this email, I don't have a phone number here to click the call. Again, most people are viewing these emails on their cell phones. And no question, attention, interest, urgency. There's no action. There's no saying, hey, when would be a great time for me to call you later today? So they're the things. And again, some options, 46% of consumers who plan to buy a new vehicle actually bought a used vehicle, especially when it comes down to a CPO. We all know that Honda has a great CPO program. Let's offer that customer a pre-owned CPO Honda and see if we can add some more value with our inventory selection.
All right. And if we were judging this contest just on video alone, Elise would probably win hands down. I mean, her videos are very well done. And folks, we're going to be, if you send Eliana an email, she will send you out the PowerPoint deck, which has the links to all the videos, and you can go watch these videos and get some tips and learn how to do some of this stuff. And out on my YouTube channel, The Phone Ninja, Elise made a series of videos, 5 how-to videos on how she makes those videos, and it takes her anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes to do those personalized videos. And the nice thing about it is the personalization, and that's going to help you sell more cars. Yes, it takes a little bit more effort, but hey, it's going to help you make more money. Go ahead,
Jerry. This is the contest about what happened here, though. Like, now what she does, this is a contest about right here, right now, this week.
Right.
Okay, I want you to know, Elise is actually on this webinar right now, and she said, normally I would have called 4 times a day, and I would have sent this at midnight last minute.
So, my recommendation to Elise and everyone else out there, because the consumer is not going to give Elise a break because she just had a kid.
Oh, okay. She said she did send this at midnight last minute.
Okay, and so all of you out there, put yourself in a position to have a secretary or an administrator so they can start doing some of this stuff with you so you can have your life as well. Grow your business. Duplicate yourself.
If there was ever a salesperson or sales professional that merits an assistant, it's Elise Gephardt. Personally, I would tell I really think the dealer should invest in some type of assistance for Elise. I think she can sell many more cars if she has some assistance to help duplicate.
But Ralph, yeah, I agree with you, Ralph. If I was Elise, I would not want the dealership to buy my secretary. If I was Elise, I would want to own that person and not have the store own it.
Hey guys, to keep it fair, let's keep
That's a good point,
the lead though. We're not talking about Elise's awesome reputation because she has an awesome reputation. But lead to lead, let's compare this. I think that's fair to the audience.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's move on. And Ralph, you're up with Bill Jacobs.
All right, let's take a look. So what you've got here is again, as Kevin Fry alluded to with Jeff Weiler, you've got the mandated Chevrolet response. So the elements of this email are pretty much determined by what they're going to call their first quality response, their FQR. It needs to present multiple vehicles, needs to have the dealership's logo, needs to have points of contact down at the bottom and the signature. These are all mandated by the manufacturer. What I look for with any of these GM dealers, and Grant really nailed it when he talked about General Motors may mandate a certain amount of elements that be included in an email response. Dealers and sales professionals should look at that as sort of a minimum. That's the minimum standard that goes out. What needs to happen here, and I hate to say it, but where's the phone call? Where are the phone calls? You are not going to sell cars to internet leads if you're not pounding the phone. That's just the reality. It's been that way for 15 years. It hasn't changed. That phone contact is the greatest determination of whether or not you're going to sell a car. So all these emails, I love them. They're pretty. They conform to General Motors standards. They're left justified. They're not right justified. They don't have too many links with some exceptions. Personally, I'm going to suggest to everybody no more than 2 links in an email, just to be safe. If you have an email template with 4 links, make it into 2 emails with 2 links each, and put them, one in the morning and one at night. Increase the frequency and reduce the amount of content in the emails themselves. If an email is real long, split it. It might be all great information, but split it into multiples for frequency. But again, I'm just going to say for this particular dealer, where are the phone calls?
I agree.
The lack of phone calls to me is a whiff. It's striking out. Yeah, you were swinging for the bleachers. No phone calls means no selling the car.
Hey, Ralph, what do you think of this email?
I hate it. I hate it. Other than the click here to view the personal brochure, what I don't like about this is it's so obviously a template. Thank you for your interest in Bill Jacobs Chevrolet. I think people are really worn out on those type of templates. A great idea to send you to the e-brochure. I love that part. But you can personalize these templates without having to put a lot of effort in there. Use your merge field to say, come up from the customer's name, as in, hey, hey, Skip, I want to say thank you once again for your interest in not purchasing a vehicle. Purchasing a vehicle sounds like crap. It should say purchasing a, and then use the merge field that inserts the vehicle that the customer said they were interested in. It doesn't require any work. Just build your template properly.
And I can tell you, Ralph, that this dealer has the ability to do that because they're using iMagic Lab, and there are merge fields that you can use in iMagic Lab where you put the customer's name.
That makes it even worse because what they've got is they've got a fantastic tool that they're not even using. They're paying for it. They're not using it. And worse yet, again, I got to ask, where are the phone calls? The reason behind email is to set the stage for a phone call.
Yeah, Ralph, and also where's the general managers or the sales managers calling back on any of these calls?
How about a general manager's email that says, if the salesperson has called you by now, please call my personal cell phone right this minute. I want to know if my people have let you down.
Have you guys ever looked at a product called Ava? That is an amazing tool that does exactly what you just talked about. If you haven't seen that, I highly recommend getting a demo of it.
The guys over at Dealer Marketing Magazine are very entranced with Ava.
All right, anything else you want to talk about before we go to vote here, Ralph?
Yeah. Where's the goddamn phone call? How are you going to sell a car? You can't. Look, we've been trying to sell cars for 15 years by email, and it doesn't work. It takes phone calls. The email's purpose is to set the phone call up. All these emails with no phone calls, it gets me angry. It just gets me angry.
Hey, here's one more email that I want to show the crowd. I do like. So you click on that, and you get a little survey that you can fill out, giving the dealer feedback. And I've seen these in action, and they do provide some very interesting feedback to the dealership.
Please, if I call your dealership for a car, please do not send me a survey.
Hey, Grant, you're not allowed to buy the car until you complete the survey.
All right, let's go to vote. Sunset Honda or Bill Jacobs? Ralph, who are you voting for?
Sunset Honda, because where is Bill Jacobs' phone call?
All right, Jeff Kirshner, who are you voting for?
I'm going to give it to Elise with Sunset based on the quality of the videos and the process
All right.
within the video.
Eric, who are you voting for?
Yeah, I think in this one, Sunset takes it.
All right, I don't need to ask the other people. We're all going to vote for Sunset, so congrats.
No, that's not fair, Jerry. I wasn't going to, I love Elise.
Okay, go ahead, Grant. Who are you voting for?
Because Bill Jacobs attempted more, I'd have to vote for Bill Jacobs, and I love Elise, as everybody does, but it just wasn't enough.
Okay, all right. There's one Bill Jacobs vote.
It was a bunch of automated emails. Where was the attempt in Bill Jacobs? That was a series of automated emails. Nobody.
Well, but Elise didn't make a phone call either, my man.
True. You're right.
All right.
You're right.
So I'm gonna vote for Elise, and that's a majority. We're gonna give it to Elise. Now the question is, who's going to win between Elise and Fremont? Grant, who do you want?
Well, it's got to be Fremont. I mean,
okay.
Because, Elise would have won if she'd have just done 4 or 5 phone calls like she says she does in the same day.
I agree. Jeff Kirshner, who are you voting for, Fremont or Sunset?
Yeah, with this example, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but with this example, Fremont for me.
All right, Eric, who are you voting for?
Yeah, Fremont has to.
Ralph?
I have to vote for Fremont for the reasons stated.
I'm with you. Fremont's going to move out.
Yeah.
All right, now, guys, when I first looked at these, I figured these would be our 2 finalists, and this is a really tough decision here. And I'm going to go to Bill Playford first. Bill, give me your thought on who you think should be the winner.
I actually would go with Fremont just because I think that we're not looking at a situation where we have like a celebrity-type salesperson. I think it's actually a better example of what the normal person can do. I mean, the normal ISN isn't going to have 2 websites, and I commend him for having those websites. Fantastic job for the personal branding. But I think that Fremont's actually a little more real life.
You sound like our president, man. That's given up on greatness.
All right, Grant, who do you vote?
Look, bro. Look, I want everybody to be.
Right.
I want everybody to be doing great, exceptional things. Everybody should have multiple websites. Everybody should be using video with link buried. Everybody should be using creativity, and every one of you should be pounding out there to take care of your families with 4 and 5 phone calls, emails. Be offensive if you have to, so you can put your family on offense, and that's what Robert exemplified in how he responded.
Yeah, and Grant, though, personal websites don't sell cars. The information about the car sells the car, and that's what Fremont gave, so my vote's on Fremont.
That's Eric. Eric is going Fremont. Grant, who are you voting for?
Oh, I'm voting for Massey, no doubt about it, because it's not the email or the website that sells the car. It's the interaction with the customer.
All right. Jeff Kirshner, who's your vote going for?
I love the entrepreneur spirit.
I don't, Jeff.
Yeah. And Robert's actually in my hometown. Go figure. I'm going to give it to Robert. I'm going to give it to Massey.
All right. Ralph Paglia.
I'm with Grant and Jeff, and I got to tell you something. If I bought a dealership tomorrow, the first salesperson I would head on in America would be Robert Weissman. And not only that, but I want to say one thing. If this was Jeff Weiler versus Fremont, I think most of us would pick Jeff Weiler. It's obvious to me that Massey's the winner.
All right, and right now we've got 2 votes for Fremont and 3 for Massey. So I could force a tie here, but I have to agree with those that voted for Massey that he did an amazing job. His follow-up was tenacious. And so Robert Massey from Robert Weissman. I know, Robert Wiseman from Massey. You're our winner. Congratulations. You just won $1,000.
You're hungry, guys. Take the $1,000.
But I got to tell you, Fremont, that was a very close second place. You really did a great job as well. I wish we could have 2 winners, but we can only crown 1 winner. And the beauty of this contest is, folks, we're going to do it again. Ralph has agreed, if I'm not mistaken, Ralph, we're going to do this at AutoCon.
Absolutely. Live in real time on stage.
Yeah, we're going to do this again. So in September, you guys will have a chance to perfect your techniques, improve your templates, get your act together, because you'll have another chance. And we're going to do this again. We'll probably start the contest in October, and we'll do it live on stage in Las Vegas. So we're looking forward to that.
Needless to say, Robert Wiseman is on, and he is very, very excited. He says, thank you, thank you, thank you. And he says, Jerry, you can pay me with that casino money.
And I gladly will. All right, so, Eliana, let's go to our questions. 1 question for each expert, and let's wrap this call up.
Yeah, we actually have some great questions from the audience. So I want to start off with some great questions that came to us from Joel. And Joel wrote, and by the way, this is for Jeff Kirshner. Joel wrote, is it better to add text before an image to prevent the email going to spam? Also, it's a 3-part question, I should say. Also, do you recommend images be limited to a certain number, including the headers and the footers? And also, just wondering, what day should the GM email be sent? So it's a 3-part question, Jeff Kirshner, from Joel.
That's a great question. I think we sort of touched on, you should really, the least amount of images really as possible. And if you're going to have a header image, if you feel as if that's necessary, I would probably drop it to the bottom and make it a footer image rather than. For me, I don't need the image in there. I would rather have, if I'm going to have a photo, it's going to be a photo of myself. I'll brand myself a bit more personalization. As for images, I think a lot of times it's not so much the number of images as much as it comes down to the size of the image. So how large is it? The least the better.
In text. Images with text are a problem.
Yes. So the least the better. And what was the last question? Of the 3-part question?
I'm sorry, yeah. I was talking and I was muted. On what day should the GM email be sent?
I see a lot of times where it goes out day 4, 5, 6. Why not day 2? Why not day 3? Why not make that a video coming from the GM? Why does it have to be text? Let's get a video as well, or at least from the sales manager.
Yeah.
All right, next question.
Okay, next question. Let's give this one to Bill. Bill, are you ready? Bill? Did we lose Bill?
No, I'm here. I'm muted. Sorry.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, Bill, this question comes to you from Brad. He wants to know your feelings on how important is correct spelling and grammar.
I think you can make 2 arguments, not to sound all political, as Grant would say, but I think a lot of customers may overlook that. For me, it's a pet peeve, and I think it really just depends on your market. Who's your audience? If you understand your audience, it's a good threshold. I think you should keep your emails short and sweet anyway, so that actually limits the amount of spelling errors and stuff that you can have. I also advocate that you have natural-sounding templates to minimize those errors as well. But at the end of the day, I think that you should strive to have great emails. I think that's all of us should strive for that perfection.
Thank you so much for that, Brad. Great question. Okay, next question comes to us from Matthew, and this one is for Ralph. Ralph, you around?
Right. Yep.
Okay. Matthew has 2 questions for you. He says, first, Jerry, is that your phone? I'm having feedback over here.
Not me.
I think it's fine.
Okay. Question from Matthew. He says, what apps or tools should we use to create the personalized videos for emails? And then his follow-up questions are, do customers need to be logged into YouTube to view the personalized videos, or are the videos publicly viewable?
Well, first of all, there's a lot of great tools out there, and I'm not going to recommend one specifically, but I do want to go back to something I said earlier, which is YouTube has become so ubiquitous that if you send a customer a personalized email, regardless of how you created it, but have it hosted on YouTube, nobody's afraid of YouTube. Nobody's going to say, oh, or I don't know if I can trust that. So I think YouTube has a certain amount of acceptance to it. And by the way, I'm not a total YouTube fan for all purposes. But when it comes to this, the personalized emails, I think if you, regardless of the tool you create it on, you upload it, have some software where it uploads automatically to YouTube, and then you have your link and you send it so they're not afraid of it. To Jerry's point, it's always nice to have those personalized links, which have the customer's name in the link. They're much more likely to click on it. And then what was the last part of the question in terms of they were asking about?
Right. So do customers that you send these personalized videos to, do they need to be logged into YouTube to view those videos?
It's a setting, and so obviously if you're a salesperson at a car dealership, you're not going to have your video set to be private or by link only. If you do, that's a mistake. You should have your videos set to public, which means they don't have to be logged in order to view the video. The only time you have to be logged in to view a YouTube video is if it's sent to you with a invitation-only link, which I've seen some dealers use, and I believe that's a mistake.
Oh, okay. Ralph, thank you so much. Matthew, thank you so much for the great questions. We're going to move on now. Boy, we have a lot of people who are writing in. By the way, Ralph, in response to everything that you just said, Scott wrote in and he says he uses iMovie. It's a great app. So just in case you wanted to know that, Matthew. And Robert Wiseman wrote in that Jerry spelled his name wrong. And that the problem with YouTube is they see the other videos that make them feel less special. Also, it may be distracted by videos.
Robert brings up a good point there, but again, I would say that's a trade-off. And I'm not going to disagree with Robert, but I do know that what you're early on, when you send this personalized video early in the relationship with the customer, you want to make sure they're not afraid of the link. There are many consumers out there that are worried about viruses, and then you're always worried about if the video will play on the consumer's device. It might be a mobile device. You know, for example, on an iPhone, YouTube will play on an iPhone, whereas there's many other video hosting sites and tools out there where it won't play on an iPhone because it uses Flash. Again, it's a trade-off, but YouTube will play on anything in any device.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Boy, we're getting a lot of comments coming in. Oh, my goodness. Okay, Ralph, that was fantastic. And I know, you know what, you could probably do an entire webinar just on video stuff. So thank you so much for chiming in on that. Jerry Thibeau.
Hello.
Jerry, you are amazing for putting this all together. Thank you so much. I want you to know a lot of people wrote in and said that they really, really enjoyed this format. They loved the expert panel. They loved each and every one of the experts that you brought on today. All of them have fans of in their own right. And they're hoping that you do it again, by the way. And lots of people said they were going to be sharing it with a lot of other people in their dealership. So thank you so much. It was a great, great idea. I do want to get to this question, though, if you're ready, Jerry.
I am ready.
Okay. Question is, they wanted to know more about Ava, and can you give a little more info so that they can do a proper search and all the different ways that you use Ava?
Well, Ava is like an administrative assistant. It follows up with the leads, and it looks for cracks. And you know, I got a demo of it, probably the last digital dealer, and I was really impressed with the demo I saw. And I know they're going to be at Digital Dealer again this year. Matter of fact, they have a booth right next to my booth. But you really should reach out to them and get the demo because I can't do it justice. Jeff Kirschner would probably be the better person for that question. And I want to take my moment here and just tell people probably one of the weakest areas that I see with these internet leads is phone skills. It's what you're saying to the people when you do get them on the phone. It's the voicemails that you're leaving. You really do need to work on those phone calls. And when you get that person on the phone, you need to ask for the appointment. Too many people just want to spew out information on the phone call, but that phone call is about taking it to the next step and making the appointment. And if Jeff Kirschner wants to kind of chime in on Ava, he knows more about it than I do. Jeff, you there?
Hey, Jerry?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's Eric. I don't mean to cut you off, Jeff, but I actually just did a full demo with Kendall and Ava, and I've got a full deep dive product review coming out on driving sales very, very soon, and I can echo Jerry's sentiments to that as well in terms of the ability for the Ava system to jump in and add a deeper layer of process and improvement for the lead process follow-up. So, great tool.
And you know what? We had one of our people on the webinar, Kathy. She said, Ava emails as much as Robert calls people. That is the main feedback I found on it from dealers who use it. So there you go. And by the way, yes, people are writing in, is it Eva or Ava? It's A-V-A. Not EVA, it's A-V-A. And Tim Jennings says it's a good tool. Most CRMs can be set up to do the same thing, though. Oh, I didn't know that.
You guys already have so many tools, man.
I agree with Tim Jennings. Most CRM tools you can configure. The problem is you have to take the time to do the configuration.
Well, and then there's that. Okay, thank you so much for that information. Of course, we have a convention coming up soon, so maybe next convention you should try and check out this Ava tool and see what's going on. Okay, next question is for Grant. Let's bring you in here on this one. You ready, Grant?
Okay.
Okay, this question comes from Kathy. She says, and this is a multi-part question, when I want to make sure the emails are sent, how do I bulk send them without having it say from the person who sent it without sending each one individually? And do I let each person send them and trust they'll do it? I have a hard time making sure they are sent. Is that something in your wheelhouse?
Well, I wouldn't bulk send anything. I would take each client separately and make sure my people do what Robert Wiseman did to win this contest. So there's no shortcuts to any of this, guys. Everybody's looking for a piece of technology or some, I saw a lot of the emails that were set up. I can tell by how much you put in the first email that you actually don't plan on doing another one. And it's just impossible. Like you're competing with the noise of the world, not just another car dealer or a lower price. The guy hits you, says I'm interested. Now one email will not do this. It's going to be multiple emails, multiple phone calls. How about some personal visits? How about a manager picking up and sending an email themselves? So if you're thinking in terms of bulk, that isn't going to work because I'm going to see that it's automated. And the moment it's not personal to me, I'm not interested. That's where that survey came from. That was some bulk automated. We got to do this. So I would just say, look, there's no shortcuts to greatness. If you want to get those extra 20 or 30 or 40 deals a month that's going to set your store apart from everybody else, it's going to make your profits completely different than last year. It's work.
Well, Natalie has a follow-up question for you, Grant, if you wouldn't mind. She says, how many phone calls do you recommend on the first day, and would you ever leave a message?
I will always leave a message. Always, always, always leave a message. And I would leave I would drop phone calls the best way is to overwhelm. In short, before I do 3 calls in one day, I'm going to do 3 calls in 45 minutes. So I'm going to think of high volumes in short periods of time, the same way I would bomb a village. I'm going to get it over quick.
Okay.
Okay? I'm not gonna, because what happens if you bomb a village over a period of 3 or 4 weeks? You just piss everybody off. It's much better. It's much better for you to call, used car manager to call, a general manager to send an email. Do it all in a very short period of time, showing that you are truly interested in this person while they're truly interested at that moment. Not 3 or 4 phone calls over 4 or 5 days.
Okay, thank you. And to add to that, Robert Wiseman wrote in, "You may not buy from me, but you'll remember me." There you go. All right, thank you so much for that, Grant. I want to get to Eric. Eric, you're still there, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Ah, great. I have a great question that came into us from John, and he says, "We keep hearing that a lot of our emails going out are spammed because they're generated from a template instead of a personal email. What do you think?"
Well, I think the template might have something to do with it, just in terms of the components that we've covered already, in terms of multiple links, the text used in your anchor, your anchor text for your links, your subject heading. Again, you start using that all together. But I think if you even do a little bit more research and you go back to your source, whether it's your email provider, your web host, wherever the server that's coming from may also be flagged as a spam server too. So dig in deep.
And that happens a lot. I've seen that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta check your servers and your sources and whoever your email provider or whatever host you might be using. Dig into that and do some research to make sure you're not getting flagged as a spam server. But I think it still comes back to your core components. I have to give props back to the guy that we looked at Fremont with what Brian did. None of those responses that he gave were a template. And they were custom, they were well written, they were short. And I think those are the core elements that everybody needs to look back and not just rely on your stock template that you're given. And again, I think everybody knows that there is no magic template. We love that saying. I think it comes back to the individuality and the engagement that you can create with that. And I think that's the key to avoiding some of those major flags that all of the email servers out there are looking for.
I think that's wise advice. And just so you know, Eric, we actually had a follow-up question from Bob. He says, "What is the email deliverability rate from most CRMs due to spam and blacklisting issues? Are some better than others?" Is that information that you would know?
Yeah, that's absolutely out there. And in terms of standard benchmarking, I'm not gonna dive into which ones lead the pack or not right now. There's way too. That's a whole separate webinar itself. But again, I think if you go back to your provider and you go back to your CRM provider and just look at those tools that they're providing to you and look for other opportunities to fix those gaps that you might have. Again, it just comes down to and again, Grant harped on it, but you got to look at how are you standing apart, not only from that fine line that you're walking for your own individual brand, but also for your dealership brand too. And believe me, there are so many ways to stand out. I'll give you a real quick example. Last summer when I was shopping for a car, I asked for a price to the salesperson. I got an email back with one word. It was the price. I loved it. And where did I open it? I opened it on my phone. That was all the person sent back. And I said, I loved that reply. No flop. Didn't tell me about how great they were, the dealership was. It was just the price.
Okay. That worked for you?
Absolutely.
I'd like to chime in on that real quick, though. You got to think like the customer. That's the biggest thing. If anybody would take anything away from this at all, think like the customer. Sit in the customer's seat, be in their shoes, and whether you're making a template or just writing this stuff out on your own, be a human being and just think about what they're expecting, and I think you'll be on your way to success.
Thank you so much for that, Bill. I appreciate that. Great answer, Eric. I do want to throw a question back over to Jeff Kirshner. Jeff, if you're willing. Earlier you were, in the very first round, you were commenting on types of actions that, put a question at the end of your email. Tim wanted to know, what type of actions would you recommend that people start putting at the end of their emails?
Well, the emails that transition over to the phone, and I love asking for permission to call the customer. Again, I'm not saying I'm not still going to go ahead and call the customer, but I love the permission-based aspect of that. So to me, it's all about using that call to action, and it's got to be the very last question in your email. People scan emails, especially if they're too long. You know, you've got such a small amount of time to grab their attention, especially if they're reading the emails on their phone. So I want to transition that customer over to the phone. So I always encourage them to ask, hey, when would be a great time for me to call you? You know, or would it be okay for me to call you within the next 10 to 15 minutes? Again, I'm probably still going to call them the matter unless they respond back quickly saying, hey, don't call me right now because I'm at work, you know, and I'll honor that. So asking the customer a question around getting that customer to the phone is what I recommend. Okay, so, but that's on the first email. Is there, you do something on the second, third email? Like, would you start asking about finish? If I'm still having those type of email communications going back and forth, I'm probably going to continue to ask that question because either A, they haven't read my emails, I haven't scheduled an appointment, they haven't returned my phone calls. Sounds fair to me. Tim, I hope that helps you out. We only have a couple more questions left. I'd like everyone to chime in on this. Other than the opt-in text that was sent, do you guys recommend using texting? This one comes from Casey.
I recommend it only if the customer opts in. Do not send a text message unless they opt in to have it.
Casey, that one was from Jerry.
Jerry brings up a good point. You have to have the permission, but I can tell you this much. The research that I did 2 years ago, the close rates, once you start texting, are over 50%. And we looked at over 2,000 leads that ended up going permission-based texting. The highest close rate was on the customers who connected with the dealership via SMS or text messaging. So absolutely, yes. If the customer will give you permission, you should be texting the customer. It's a huge indicator, very high indicator of a probable sale.
And if you guys, let me just add to that, Ralph, if you guys want, that's why we went and changed all our scripts to actually be permission type questions without sounding like permissions to collect text. There's really magical ways to collect a cell number in order to exchange data with the client, where we can grab a cell and literally set yourself apart from everybody else in the marketplace. Because the reality is you don't want their email and you don't want their office number. You want their cell number.
Yeah, I got to add into that, guys. If everybody else on the call listening, you guys need to plant the acorn now for the oak that's about to grow in this industry for us in terms of being able to connect with your customers on the next wave of permission-based, and that's just texting and even better, notifications. Anybody that knows, coming out, the Apple iWatch and the Google Glass, that wearable technology is going to be the next wave of our ability to connect. What is the open rate on a text message and a notification? It's 100%. Who doesn't feel threatened by a notification? Take advantage of that and ask these people for the opportunity to connect with them. They will say yes.
And just so our audience knows, you don't have to send a text message from a cell phone. So I've opened up an email here, and every provider has their address. You put the person's phone number in, write your message out, and I want to say it's like 260-something characters, so it can't be too long of a message, and that will go directly to their cell phone from your email. And if you just simply go to Google and type in text message addresses, here's a list of all the providers and what their addresses are.
Wow,
the only thing I would add is I wouldn't text as a preemptive strike. Just to stick with Grant's bombing analogies here, it could creep somebody out a little bit. So like I said, it's something where I definitely believe, I think texting is the future, and I think that I totally agree with Ralph's points. All my research indicates the same thing. But leading off with a text could be a little weird for some people.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for all of your information. Last question comes to us from Mike, and he says, how often do you recommend contacting a customer when the internet leads come in? So is there a magic, he says, is there a secret formula in getting that profit? Is there a magic formula for, email, call? I mean, how many times you do it in the first day, the second day? What's the recipe? Who wants to start with that? Jerry?
Well, we know Grant's philosophy. Let's bomb the heck out of them, which I like that philosophy. You know, that first day, I mean, I will make 4 calls in that first day because that customer's hopefully going to take my call eventually. In my first message, I leave a voicemail if I don't get them. And I like to switch it up. I'll actually call from my work phone. My second phone call will be from my cell phone. And when I get their voicemail, I actually don't leave a message when I call from my cell phone. Why? Because what do you do when you get a phone call to your cell phone and somebody doesn't leave a voicemail? You're curious as to, hey, who just called me? And a lot of people will actually hit the dial button, call back, and go, hey, somebody from this number just called me. Now you have your customer on the phone. So I actually make 2 calls from my cell phone and don't leave a voicemail. And I'm hoping that that customer is curious and will call me back. And then my final phone call will happen at the end of the day after dinner time, like after 6 o'clock, because you might have a customer's home phone number. They might have provided you a home phone number. And if you're calling during the day and you've got a home phone number, well, obviously you should be calling in the evening as well. So make sure you put a call in the evening as well.
Anyone else want to chime in on that? Nope, I think they all liked what you said.
I was going to say, I think it's all about making that connection. So in other words, leaving a voicemail means you got to keep at it until you connect with that customer with a live phone call. You're not going to get the appointment until you connect with a live phone call. So yeah, the emails are certainly important, but that connection, that voice-to-voice connection, that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that. I think what happens with all of us is that we get concerned that we're going to offend the customer if I call him every 15 minutes or text him or send him a video. Look, I mean, I know I have that concern, but the reality is if you're sold on yourself, sold on your product, and sold on your company, you should operate like it's your duty to make sure they buy that car from you, that they actually get a chance to meet you, whether you have to drive there, they drive to you, whatever you have to do to get in front of them. If you really believe in yourself, your product, your mission, your company, then you'll do whatever it takes to get that thing done and not worry about, oh, am I going to offend somebody? You probably will offend someone. So what?
I'd just like to add on one thing to that, and I agree with what everyone else said, but I would meticulously take notes on what works well for you at your dealership in your particular city or town, and actually figure out what gets you the most success. That's pretty much how I built my career, is understanding how those things work, and you'll actually start to see some patterns as to how people contact you. You'll see patterns to see, when they email you, different timings, so on and so forth. So just take notes and actually keep track of all that data, and I think you'll find your answer in that.
I mean, Ashley had a follow-up, and she says, so at what point do we slow up on the number of calls going to the customer? After the first week, after the second week? Should we go, gung-ho, full-on strong for a whole 30 days and then let up?
Well, you only have so much bandwidth. There's only so many phone calls each salesperson can make.
Yeah.
So you've got to prioritize them. It's like when you walk in on a Monday morning, if you're on a weekend you were off and you've got 38 leads in your inbox, what's the first lead you respond to? The freshest one, the one that came in 5 minutes ago, because it's your greatest likelihood of success. Same thing goes with the amount of time you allocate for your phone calls. You have a limited number of time, and to Bill Playford's point, you need to know which phone calls under what circumstances yield the highest success rate for you, and you need to prioritize accordingly.
Now, just add on to that one last thought. Don't forget, though, how important that long-term process is. Keep in mind, 54% of your leads close after 30 days. So don't just cherry pick. You got to add that long-term process into it, guys.
And more of the reason, guys, to get assistance. Get an assistant to pick up some of that stuff that you can't handle right away, and maybe do some of the things you don't want to do.
There you go. If you can get an assistant, hey, I'd like an assistant. Thank you so much.
Hey,
Mike?
Some of these people that submitted leads are doing very well and can afford an assistant.
Oh, well, that's probably true. And by the way, I want you to know, Scott, Elise, and everyone else, except for, of course, Robert, who won, which, by the way, Robert, next time, you're not eligible. But everyone else, such a great job. Improve what you got going. Come back next time. and show us how it's done. School us all on it, because you, some of you are so good, and you're right there. It's just Robert Wiseman just happened to win today. But thank you all so very much for putting in the effort and showing us your process and letting these experts pick you apart. I really want to thank, of course, all of our experts. Let me tell you something, Jerry, Jeff, Ralph, Grant, Eric, Bill. Dude, we made history today. I mean, thank you all so much for being on one webinar all together and giving us so many great feedback, so much great advice. I know all the people that came on this webinar, as well as all the ones who are going to listen to it in the future, really appreciate it. And Jerry, of course, I know you want to thank all the guys for coming on board too, right?
Oh, absolutely. You guys, you know, it's great that you all agreed to be on this webinar. And, you know, yeah, we all are doing our thing in the industry, but it's nice when we come together and give such great content to our customers. And I felt like a lot of great information was shared here today, and I'm looking forward to doing it again with you.
Yeah, of course, I want to remind the audience that this whole webinar has been recorded, and we're going to be emailing you the link a little bit later today for your reference. Please share it with friends and colleagues. It's also going to be up on the DealerUn website. It's dealerun.com/webinars, and over there you can view our upcoming webinar schedule, access any of our past webinars, and hey, by the way, this webinar is going to end in just another minute, and you're going to receive a short survey. Please fill it out. We need your feedback. If you liked what you heard today, if you want to see more of it, let us know. And we're also going to randomly select a few people from all the completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. So if you liked what you heard and you want to see something like this again in the near future, we won't know unless you tell us. All right? So hopefully we'll see a lot of some, great comments from today's webinar. And yeah, DealerUn is going to be at the upcoming Digital Dealer Convention in Orlando. So if you're going to be there, we want to see you. Come visit us at booth 407. And oh yeah, Grant is going to be talking. Grant, hop on here for a sec. Tell everyone you're going to be talking at the Digital Dealer.
You were starting to sound like Paul Abdul.
I was.
In that last thing, oh yeah, all the other people did so good, and come back next year when you're ready. Blah blah blah.
They did do well. You didn't think they did well? Come on, it was cool.
Yeah, no, I did.
I did,
but everybody. Yeah, but everybody should feel good about what they did here, and it's about, look, everybody's going to miss deals. Everybody, I have so many ways I can improve in my life. I don't close the most people I talk to, and I just got to keep out, figuring out another angle. And all these guys, Bill, Jeff, everybody but Jared, because Jared didn't show up, you guys provided such great content to everybody.
Well, Grant, I brought you in here because I wanted you to tell people we're going to be doing a live broadcast from the Digital Dealer Convention floor in Orlando on Thursday, May 9th. So if you're going to be in Orlando, come to the DealerUn booth and see Grant talking live about how to get you some 10x success. Right, Grant?
That's right. 10x your income, 10x your wealth, 10x your life.
That's right. So if you're not going to be in Orlando, then register for the webinar, and we'll see you on the webinar portion. But if you are going to be there, we want to see you live, and it's going to be one heck of a conference. So I hope to see you all on May 9th. And Jerry Thibeau is also going to be at the Digital Dealer Conference and Expo, and he's going to be talking about CRM ninja skills. And by the way, earlier, Jerry, somebody asked where you get your hair cut, and I want to know when we're going to see a picture of you instead of in the suit and tie, but in a ninja outfit. I think it's time we brought you in on the ninja suit. Dashing in black.
No.
No? Well, we'll see.
You see that?
What? What? What are we doing? Are you making fun of me?
You want to talk about next week's webinar before we say goodbye?
Yeah, okay, we're talking about next week's webinar. Invitations are going to go out tomorrow for our next webinar. The top 10 mistakes you're making with your digital marketing, and that's going to be with Gary May from Interactive Marketing and Consulting Services. We're going to discuss the 10 biggest mistakes you're probably making right now and how to remedy them. So join us armed with your questions, concerns, and comments about Google Places to search engine optimization, video to Facebook, and websites to paid search. The top 10 digital marketing mistakes that are keeping you from attracting more customers are going to be revealed, explained, and solved. So if you're ready to eliminate those costly errors and drastically improve results, well then this is a must-see webinar you can't afford to miss. It's going to be another fabulous presentation by your friends at DEALERUN. And don't forget, DEALERUN's weekly webinars are held every Thursday, 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And a lot of our experts today are also going to be at the Digital Dealer Convention. So if you're going to be there, check out their speaking sessions. They're all amazing. And I can't wait to see them myself in Orlando. Guys, thank you so much. Yes?
How many people registered for this and how many people came on?
I don't have those numbers in front of me, but it was a lot. So thank you so much, Grant.
Jerry, how many was it, Jerry?
Well, so the audience needs to know that for a long time I held the record. Then Joe Webb beat me, and then I took it back from Joe Webb, and then Grant beat my record by one person. And rumor has it he got some guy, some bum on the beach to fire up his laptop and jump on that webinar. So, Eliana, what's the record? 425, 426?
You guys are killing me.
And I'm willing. Hey, if we set a new record, it's a new record.
You didn't.
It's a record shared by all of us.
Okay, I'm going to close up this webinar and say it was fantastic, and I'm looking forward to the next one, my friends. So you can just email me later.
There's your answer, Jerry.
Maybe she doesn't want to embarrass you, Grant.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone. Love you all.
All right.
See you on the next
Have a good one.
webinar.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.